Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have ReWalk Robotics. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol RWLK and is a medical device company that designs, develops, and commercializes innovative technologies that enable mobility and wellness in rehabilitation and daily life for individuals with neurological conditions. ReWalk's mission is to fundamentally change the quality of life for these individuals through the creation and development of market-leading technologies. Founded in 2001, ReWalk has operations in the United States, Israel, and Germany. Please welcome its CEO, Larry Jasinski. Welcome, Larry.
Hey, good day. Thank you very much, Anna, for having us. And I appreciate everyone's time for a few minutes to speak about the ReWalk story. As you can see on this cover slide, you see a picture of a woman that is fully paralyzed from mid-chest down, and she's out for a walk, and we'll talk about that a lot more. But what is this company about? And right now, it's creating a meaningful product here in terms of commercial value. We've gotten past all the other steps. We're now finally getting to the payment side with reimbursement. So that is going to be a reasonable segment for this company, a very large segment for this company. And then the other part of this company is focused on consolidation of technologies in the channel in which we're working to get the company to a profitable position. So I'll go through some detail on that behind. The forward-looking statements are always important as a notification for you and available on our website. So I'm going to start really with the product itself. Let me adjust my slide slightly. Thank you. Our company came out of the need from an individual who became a paraplegic just from an accident. He was out with his kids, living a lifestyle like any of us, wrong spot, wrong time. And that was his base for, he didn't like the lifestyle he wanted and wanted to regain independence and the ability to walk around and do things in daily life and improve his health. That really has been achieved, particularly now that we're reaching goals with CMS. But this picture on the right side essentially tells the story. This is a paralyzed man able to stand at a counter and talk with someone as long as he wants. Our mission, we've already covered a little bit in the introduction, and that'll be apparent as we look at what we're doing. So what did Dr. Gopher, who's the individual who was the original developer of this, he wanted people to get back to the life they wanted to live. This picture on this slide is a good example of it. Going to a house where there are steps, there's no ramp, there's no way for them to get in the house. But with a device like this, they can walk up those steps into the house to visit somebody. And our focus at the end, I look at the top of this slide, we are looking at spinal cord injury. That's where we start. But we believe this is a product that has applications, variants of the product for stroke or things such as MS or Parkinson's to allow people the ability to walk more. Okay, so this is probably the most important of the slides of what is changing, what is emerging as this company. Who are we and why will we grow, essentially, is that. So look at these strategic catalysts you see in the top of the slide. We just recently gained FDA clearance for a stairs and curb function that was added to the system. That was achieved. The second bullet is not bolded yet, but it was really getting coverage. So people who cannot pay for this product, which is the majority of this population, they needed coverage from CMS and other insurers. On June 30th, it's only 11 days ago now, CMS has recommended the benefit category and the method of payment, which is a lump sum. This has been about 5 years in process, but this is the beginning of this industry. It is a major catalyst that we were looking for this year and have achieved with the announcement of a proposal by CMS, which is followed by a public comment period. And at the end of the public comment period, they issue a final rule, which will take effect late this year, early next year with CMS. The balance of this is we're working on some other products, but as a company, this describes a lot about what we're working in. We are using these exoskeletons for spinal cord injury. We have over 600 used worldwide. And now with Medicare coverage, that number will grow from smaller numbers. We've been doing 20 to 40 a year to hundreds per year as time goes on. The size of this market opportunity for this product and the other things is over $1 billion. We are in a good cash position, as you can see from this. We've described our intent is now that we are achieving what we needed with CMS coverage, it allows us to build a distribution system and organization that we can leverage several products through. And we have a management team that has a track record of doing exactly this. So the next slide. Here's a bit of a history. I won't go through everything on it, but if you look at what were we first to, the first company to get this in the marketplace, it had to go through as a de novo. We were the first one to get it with the Veterans Affairs. We got it covered in Germany. We got a HCPCS code issued in the United States. We brought in 2 breakthrough devices through FDA. In 22, we began submitting claims, and now here in 23, we're finally getting United States coverage. So these are all things that we had to lead the way, but it's part of developing and creating an industry. If you look at the market as a whole, on the left side, you can see the bar graph. Currently, this is about a $1 billion market. It can grow to about 2.5 from, this is one of the published research reports. We play primarily in the gray space, if you look over to the right side on the pie graph, that 32% with neurorobotic devices. And this is for both the clinic and for people to use at home. I think an important way to look at this is if you've got a prosthetic, you lost your leg, you don't leave that prosthetic in the hospital when you get done training. You live your everyday life with it. And that's the real component with most of these products is eventually they're used to improve your health and well-being in your community, at work, at home, but outside the clinic once you've gained it. This industry, a little more information on it. You can see a lot on the technical advances as a driver. Exoskeletons have only been contemplated in science fiction over many, many years. The market adoption has been held back, waiting CMS coverage. That step is finally being achieved, and we fit well with the demographics. You can see some of the journals that are routinely presented in this to look at this and some of the societies that are starting to drive the development of this. If you look at the things that are really creating opportunity to us, is the building skills around market access. And that's CMS. We do that well. We built a team that has a history of doing it. And scalability. That is a needed next step for us. So I'm going to take a minute now, switch to the product. And this will give you a much better picture as to why this applies so easily to these markets. So here's our current portfolio. On the far left, you see a sergeant who was injured in a battle in Afghanistan, was shot in the neck on a rooftop. He wanted to leave the Army the way he came in. He walked into the Army. He was walking out of the Army. I'm sorry, Marines, so I want to make sure I say that correctly. This is the product that now is going to be reimbursed in the United States, we believe, over the course of late this year and early next year. The product in the middle is a stroke-related product. You can see it's a much smaller product. It is focusing on a single leg, which when you've had a stroke, more commonly, it's one side of your body affected more than the others, and it helps restore gait pattern. I'll describe how it works mechanically in a few minutes. And our third product line is functional electrical stimulation, basically using electrical stimulation to help move the muscles. So this is a home device. Also, there's a version for the clinics that allows exercise therapy. The same reason any of us would go on a treadmill or go for walks. It allows you to do this in the home and community as you need. All right, let's see, there we go. So coming to the ReWalk. How does this device function? I guess I'll start here. Look at the picture on the right side, and you have 6 joints. The ankle joints on each side, the knees on each side, and the hips on each side. So we're powering those joints through spring-loaded mechanisms on the bottom and motor and gear assemblies that are contained in those black cylindrical-shaped components on each side. And then this is functioning, and what made it really work, motors and gears weren't new, was the development of sensors, software, and batteries that really allowed us to copy and mimic human gait, sensors to allow the user to decide when they start their walking, and batteries that made this usable for all-day use. You can see this on YouTube videos and a few other places. I think that's a good way to follow it. Bounced ahead of me for a moment. If you look at this for what does this do for a person's life, it's not just walking. And I'll talk about that as we look at some of the benefits. But here's a person that wants to go up that flight of stairs to a beautiful view from the top of that hill. I've been to that particular location. But what does it give them? It gives them freedom to do things they couldn't do. They couldn't go up these stairs otherwise. They couldn't do a lot of other things. It does give them a natural gait. The construction of this, it works. It's expected to have a 5-year life or about 1 million steps before you'd want to replace it. And it has been used in everything from everyday life or cooking in the kitchen to we've had about 50 people do events such as marathons on them. That was not our intended design. It is fitted specifically to the patient. It takes a little time to set it up the very first time they get in it, but you've got to match the length of their leg, match the size of their foot, match the size of their upper part of their leg, and you have to put software settings to match the length of their stride and speed and things that they can do. We have an extensive support team. Again, at any time if this isn't working, you have to be able to get it back and working again to maintain your viability with it. And for the patient population, it is a community which is working together a lot in developing this and helping support the advocacy with CMS. Now, what does this do besides walking? Walking's obvious. When I ask people, what do you value in this technology? Walking isn't in the top 5 in the list. To the right side of this slide, there are a list of many things that happen to the human body. These are well documented now. We have about 117 citations in the literature over the years, and that's been a part of gaining the position we have with CMS. But specifically, the things that they talk about the most are my spasticity or my pain is reduced because I'm using that part of my body again. And by getting off those meds, I get clarity of thought. We hear quite a bit about better GI and GU track. And to be specific, for someone who is not walking, the preparation and going to the bathroom is a longer process. It can be 1 to 2 hours. Once you're walking again, the natural peristaltic motion that occurs helps it become a more regular, more predictable process, saves them a lot of time. Things such as skin tone, bone density are also things that are all looked at in this and affected with different patients. So we have a very good base of literature at this stage for these technologies. For coverage, the United States has been covered with the veterans, so roughly about 9% of the population for a while now. We've sold a good number of systems through private insurance as appeals. And the Medicare code, we are one step now past case by case. We now have a benefit category and a payment method, and a final price will be established as well. And we believe these will be effective late this year with rules issued that are being used in January of 24. And pricing may be slightly longer than that, but right in that range. We will have case-by-case cases in the meanwhile, though. In Germany, they have already given this fairly broad coverage. If you're a workman's compensation patient, 97% of the population is covered. And for the German private and statutory, about 30% of them are covering it at this time under contract. If you looked at the market numbers, this is a market of about 300,000 individuals in the United States and larger numbers in global space, but we focus mostly on the US and Germany. When you look at all eligible components for inclusion and exclusion criteria, motivation, ability to go and have the time for training, we wind up with an addressable market of about $1.7 billion. What percentage rate will be determined over time, but this is a sizable opportunity once we have gained coverage at a reasonable level. So I'm going to switch to the second product, and there's some similarities here. The product is still using sensors, and batteries, and a motor drive. You just don't need as many because you're trying to move a single foot. Inside that person's shoe is a foot plate, and that lifts the toes when they need to lift it for clearance, and it lifts the heel to push off in a normal gait pattern. So this helps neuroplasticity for the patient who is trying to regain some of that memory and ability to walk again. This is right now a clinic-based product. In the future, we have a variant of it, which is a little more compact, which is designed for the home use. And the potential market on stroke, again, for the clinic, there's a lot of clinics in the United States and Germany. And in our market, we see a total potential market, addressable market, of about $55 million in this segment. The distributed product right now, this product has broad indications. It's quite easy to use. That is its really big basis for many of these users. And it flows very well because it's the same customer. It's a spinal cord injury patient. It's the same insurers, same clinics, and same user. So having parallel products works quite efficiently for our distribution system with this particular product. And its addressable market is also quite large if you look at all indications. The potential total addressable market of about 1.7 billion. So the last piece I want to cover today is the business strategy we are pursuing as a company. And part of it is the cost of developing a strong reimbursement team, a very good distribution team, a clinical training team, and a service network is reasonably high. And these are groups that are capable of doing multiple products. And we see great value in doing our growth pattern with two goals in mind. First, organic growth, the core technology that is the origin of the company, through CMS coverage, and later pursuing private coverage based on that, is a primary pillar of our expected growth in the coming 3 years. And we've crossed a major threshold here with the announcement on June 30th. But we also see other products that are sold in the clinic or could later be addressing things at home that we believe are of great benefit, could use the same sales force and many of the same capabilities. And basically, in the yellow box you see below, this accelerates our path to be profitable on our existing cash. We don't see a need to raise additional cash as we look at the models. If you look at the industry, it's a highly fragmented industry. There's a lot of small companies that are investing in the expensive distribution systems, and many have limited access to capital. So it's a natural fit as we look at some, and that is where our focus has been over the past year in parallel with finishing up with CMS as we were ready to broaden our commercialization focus. So our program really over the period that we've been focused on it is to add to the 3 product lines we have, and I'm going to focus a little more on the right side of this, the acquisition criteria. We're looking for products that are already commercial, that are adjacent. So we're using all of our same resources. We're looking for things that bring clinical value to these patients and has a technology component that's significant. Again, that's what's in our DNA. And leveraging these capabilities from a financial side has to be a component of it. And then the end is getting us things that we're bringing on that they are profitable within our company in a short time. We're generally about 12 months or less is what we're trying to find. And I'll speak very briefly just about the team, mostly in terms of experience. My background has primarily been a career in the medical device industry, but with a great deal of experience in bringing new products to market in the vascular and spinal areas, as well as with integrations of companies. Mike Lawless, who's joined us recently, has a history of doing a number of integrations as well. Janine Lynch is the only the one I want to mention for today's purposes. A history with the orphan drug industry in getting relatively higher priced items with moderate sized markets paid for through CMS. And she has a lot to do with what we have accomplished with CMS in her just under 2 years with us. The rest of our team is equally good, but I wanted to focus on the ones that are driving the strategy for this audience. So where are we financially? Currently, at the end of March, we have about $62 million in cash. We have no debt, and we have expected cash that goes out several years, depending on how far out we take some of our M&A work. And in particular, we see it becoming cash flow positive and profitable on the cash we have in place. So finishing up, and to try to have enough time for good questions for everybody involved, the milestones that we have, the FDA clearance for stairs, we've already achieved. The Medicare processing piece I've mentioned on June 30th, we believe the proposed rule is exactly what we were looking for. So that is on its way. It's in its public comment period with the final rules again in November, and effective January 1st is the expectation. The pricing might be slightly behind that as the timing at which they clarify it. We do have an additional version of our product which continues the improvements and making it easier to use and easier to train in. We believe we will complete some acquisitions here before the end of this year. It is a process we've been heavily involved with. And on our case-by-case submissions that we've already been doing prior to, we're looking to submit greater than 35 claims. We submitted 11 in Q2. That was our first full quarter. We'll increase that in Q3 and in Q4. So in parallel to the CMS codifying this in a more formal way, we will get payment through the MACs and sell some products in the current calendar year. So here's a picture of one of our ReWalkers and a lot of the support team that is out there in the field with them. And we thank you very much for your time today. And what I'd like to do now is answer any questions. Ann, if you can come back up.
Great job, Larry. Yes, we've got some questions for you. Let's jump in. From a shareholder, so in your public conference call to shareholders on July 11th, you mentioned you should be receiving a decision from Medicare about the amount of reimbursement they'll be giving you for your exoskeleton by the end of this year. So what's the minimum amount you must receive from Medicare in order for your exoskeleton to be commercially viable going forward?
Well, the pricing we provided in our call, our list price is $186,000. And we are pricing it currently based on what we have with our other insurers and our other contractors. With Medicare, we will determine a price through the interaction with them. So that process is underway. They use several methods to determine pricing. They first look if something is listed on their fee schedule. This is a predicate. This device had no predicate as a de novo. So they have nothing on their fee schedule. They look for comparable devices. There are no comparable devices. So they come down to invoices. So our expectation is they will look at our existing VA invoices and our private company invoices to finalize the pricing. So I wouldn't state a number beyond that right now. I'm going to let the process play out. And that's where we expect we will be able to be in a good position based on what we see from our other invoices and pricing.
And once the Medicare decision on the amount of reimbursement is made, will you still be able to bill the VA the current amount for each exoskeleton, or will the VA only pay the same amount as Medicare?
Well, we have a current contract with the VA under their supply schedule, and we have we'll enter contracts with others. The prices may vary based on volume in situations. So our expectation is that the pricing may vary from group to group based on how much they're buying.
And so once this Medicare decision on the amount of reimbursement is made, what does that mean for future iterations of your exoskeleton going forward? Will you have to create a new striped down version of your current exoskeleton that's cheaper or more commercially viable with Medicare reimbursement?
Well, right now we expect that the Medicare reimbursement will allow the existing product to be supplied, and that's what we're putting out there. I don't believe I think our focus from a technical point of view will be more on making it easier to use, lighter weight. Batteries and sensors are constantly improving. We have taken a lot of technology from other areas, such as self-driving cars is a future one if I look at it. Can we add enough sensors to this where when you're walking down the street, you don't have to adjust for the crowd in front of you, that the sensors slow you down or speed you up, depending on the situation. So our primary development focus will be further technical refinements. So say we're going into version 7.0, and there's going to be an 8.0 and a 9.0 or whatever we name them. And the volume will help us relative to margin and cost. And if we deal with some pricing over time, it will probably be more volume dependent. But we're not going to make a version with less features. We're probably going to keep adding.
Question from Michael John. Are these working aids already available in Germany? And could they possibly be obtained from health insurance companies, or is it necessary to buy them privately? And what do they cost?
Well, in Germany, we are the direct supplier, and we contract primarily with the insurer. So the insurer buys it from us and provides it to the individual, same as we will have somewhat with CMS. So there is a direct line. These are Class 2 medical devices, so they require a prescription from their physician. They require a level of training with physical therapists to make sure they can use it safely. For example, you're going onto an elevator, going through a door jamb, going from grass to carpet, you're going up ramps. You have to sort of relearn the proper way to use the equipment to be completely safe. So those procedures all continue for what we're trying to do.
Art Rose says your net loss has remained constant as your revenues rise 50% over the past 2 quarters. So can you talk about your burn and how you're funding it?
Yes, well, our burn, as we laid out, our current cash balance is about $62 million. Our burn rate has been between $4 and $5 million a quarter. A lot of that was an investment in infrastructure. Specifically, we put a lot of effort with CMS to take this through providing sufficient data and the process through working with CMS. Some of that burn will switch from all of our efforts to get it covered and the infrastructure we built, but they've only done 10 cases. So, next year, as I said, our target is to try to go into the hundreds of cases. So that will leverage some of the costs down. We see the burn rate decreasing. We see the company in our models getting to a break-even and profitable state of a combination of our growth with CMS and our acquisition plans.
Charlie D wants to know, how do people find you? Are you marketing through a network of neurologists or specific doctors?
We're relatively publicly available. For patients to find us is primarily either individually through their own searches. We have a lot of patients come directly to us, and we wind up working with them and their insurer directly. For the clinical side of this, our work now that we're going to have coverage will be primarily with the rehab clinics that are going to be the locations for training. So if you want to be able to utilize this technology in everyday life, and you live in a particular area, we'll reference you to that specific center, and we will work with the doctors in that center as the base.
Perfect. Well, do you have any closing remarks for our audience today?
I'd come back to this company started with a paralyzed individual who had a dream to get part of his life and independence back again. And we called him right after the CMS rules were issued, because we're finally really achieving his dream, which is access for people who need it, not those who can either self-fund, which is a small audience, or we're able to find and battle long enough to win this. Making it systematic is a major sea change, not for just our company, for this industry. Why we're the leader in it, it allows us to now view this as an industry as opposed to an emerging technology. And that's really the big change that we've got to finish. We've got a few more steps to go, but we're 95% down that road now.
Well, this is important work, Larry. Thank you so much for joining us on our conference. We'd love to have you back in the future with some updates.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.